Hey everyone, it's Joy here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share how I added some shading and dimension with just a small blender brush and some ink. Now I'm actually going to be starting with the detail pincushion plate and the arched leaf and flower blooms die. These are from Simon Says Stamps Diecember, so this is the first time I've got to use them, so I'm really excited about that. So I'm using the detail pincushion plate and die cutting that out of vellum. I want vellum to be kind of floating on top of my card. And I also got new plates for my die cut machine, which is the Spellbinders Platinum 6, and they're so pretty until you use them the first time. So I just poked out all of those little holes that were on that piece of vellum. And then this is the arched leaf and flower blooms die. I die cut this multiple times from white cardstock. And this is where I'm going to do a little bit of the ink blending, but I'm going to add some shadows and a little bit of dimension by just using one color. You can use multiple colors with this, but I'm just going to use one. So what I did is at the base of the leaf and the stem, I made it a little bit darker and then just kind of gently brushed out to the tip of the leaves. So those are a little bit lighter. And so then as you can see, it's giving you kind of this two-tone look where you have a darker shadow part, which is giving your image some dimension. This is really super easy. You could do this with two colors. You could ink up with this very light color. This is actually Sprout from Simon Says Stamp, the Pawsitively saturated inks. So you could lay down this light color and then come in with a darker color and add those same dark shadows at the base of the leaves. Now here are the flowers. These are two-piece flowers that you can end up putting together. I die cut these from white cardstock as well, and I am coming in with Lemonade, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm concentrating the ink in the center of the flower, then I'm going to gently brush out onto the tip. I want the tip to stay really light. It almost is going to look white, but there still is a little bit of color that's added. So I'm going to do that for all of my flowers, and I'm going to be using Lemonade, SEAFOAM, and Cheeky. So I have a pink, a blue, and a yellow, which is really pretty. This really kind of ends up looking like a spring card. It's very soft. The colors are very soft, and I really love how it looks. So I've got a big flower, and then there's also a small flower. So I'm going to do the same thing on the small flowers here, adding that color to the center. I'm using Simon Says Stamp small blender brushes, and I think that's really important. A big blender brush is just going to cover the whole image. Now here is the Cheeky color. Again, the Pawsitively saturated inks from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm doing the large and the small flower. And then I'm going to do the last one in SEAFOAM. And I'm just cleaning up my workspace in between so I don't mix these colors. But as you can see, these are really soft and pretty. And once that ink soaks in, it's going to kind of even out if it looks a little bit splotchy. So I'm going to finish up with those last petals. And then I taped down my piece of vellum because it kind of curls up at the end. If you guys have worked with vellum, you understand that, it's really thin and kind of flimsy in a good way. So I just taped it down so I could adhere my wreath in place without my vellum moving around. So I'm just using some reverse tweezers. This first layer I used a tape runner. I really try to not use liquid glue a ton on vellum because it can smear and you'll notice it. So I am going to use some liquid glue here, but I am using very little. So if you are using liquid glue on vellum, just be very light-handed with that. So now I'm going to overlay the next layer, but off-center it because I really want this to feel very full. So I'm just going to work obviously in a circle, and I'm going to just offset it a little bit. So this is going to have 3 layers. I had the base layer, this is the second layer, and then I'm coming in with the third layer, and I'm just going to line it up and kind of tuck things in and under other leaves and just making it just really look nice and cohesive. This turned out so pretty, and I think it's really pretty on the vellum. I'm actually going to add the vellum to a white A2 size card base, but I'm gonna pop it up with some foam tape so the vellum is kind of floating above the card panel, which I really like to do that with vellum. I like to give it some dimension like that. I think it looks so, so pretty. So I'm gonna finish adhering this last piece, and look at how full that looks. I just think it is gorgeous. This arched leaf and flower blooms die is just absolutely stunning. This is from Simon Says Stamp as well. And same with the detail pincushion plate, which is this background. Okay, I'm gonna glue these flowers together. You just cross them over and glue them. I just a little bit of glue in the center, and I'm gonna glue all of those flowers, the large and the small flowers, glue exactly the same. And you could layer these on top of each other if you wanted more petals for a flower. That would be really cute too, but I just kept it very simple, and I have 6 flowers. I only ended up using 5. Now I'm also going to show you how to add some physical dimension to these flowers using my reverse tweezers. Really super simple, but instead of having a flat flower, now we're going to have kind of, you know, these bent petals that look more natural. So I'm going to put my tweezer in the center of the bottom part of that petal and then pinch my fingers around the tweezers, pinching the paper of the petals inside into each other. And then I'm just going to kind of cup that up, and then we have a little bit of dimension. So instead of a flat flower, now we have a nice 3D flower. So I'm going to do that for all of these, the large and the small. It's super quick, super simple, but makes a ton of difference. Now, obviously, if you don't want to do this, you could have flat flowers and they are just as beautiful. But I wanted this to have some dimension and kind of pop off the page. So I'm going to finish bending that one. And then look at these beautiful flowers. I think those colors are just so, so pretty together. Okay, so I'm going to cut pieces of foam tape and I'm going to hide it behind the wreath image. This is perfect. It's nice and big. I'm able to get lots of smaller pieces of foam tape behind it, and then I can just adhere this to my white card base. This background is A2 size, so it's going to fit perfectly over my card base. And it's just going to look like it's floating above. And you know, with vellum, sometimes the edges curl up a little bit. Like, don't let that worry you, because that's just the nature of vellum. And it just looks really, really pretty. I love, 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 love how that looks. Now I'm going to adhere the flowers. I'm going to use some liquid glue on the back. I'm just going to kind of lay it out first. I'm someone that likes to lay out my design ahead of time and really make sure that I have everything in place. So I have this laid out, and then I realized I think I needed another yellow flower, so I'm just going to remove that blue one, bring in the yellow, and to me that was perfect. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue and adhere it down. I am going to be very careful with the liquid glue, but most of the time this is going to be glued to the leaves that are already down. And I'm just using my reverse tweezers to put that in place, which makes it super, super easy. After I finish adding this last flower, we're going to do the sentiment, and I am using the tiny words from Simon Says Stamp. I'm actually using the Stamptember stamp set, but you can use any of the tiny word stamps from Simon Says. I love these. I love how tiny they are. So I'm just going to use my Mini Misty on some white cardstock. I stamped the sentiment with black ink, and I'm just going to trim that down with my paper trimmer. I will add some foam tape behind it, and I'm just going to put that right in the center of this wreath, which I think is perfect because it's so tiny. It's not going to take away from the wreath. I'm going to finish this card by adding some Spellbinders Silver Mix Gems, and there's different sizes on here, which I really like. I'm using the really tiny ones for the small flowers, the next size up for the big flowers, and then the really tiny ones again for just kind of in and around the wreath. And this just adds a nice little sparkle to this card, and I think it just turned out absolutely beautiful. These dies from Diecember are fantastic. And look at how pretty that is. I'm going to add one more. I was like, wait a minute, I think I need a little bit more. Now this card is complete. It's so beautiful. Thank you guys so very much for watching. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel. Please comment, share, definitely thumbs up if you like it. I do have some affiliate links. They cost you nothing to use, but it does help me. So thank you, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.